You know, my friends, I've often felt that for a long stretch of time, there was very little that the late Queen Elizabeth II wouldn't have done for Prince Harry. I'm not suggesting for a moment that she played favorites, but there was clearly a soft spot there. You could see it in the way she interacted with him, especially during that memorable and rather humorous moment tied to the Invictus Games. Do you remember when she joined in on that playful sketch? Harry delivered his line with that dramatic boom, and her reaction was just priceless. It gave people a rare glimpse of a different side of her, a more relaxed, natural version, away from the formal duties and royal expectations. For many watching, it confirmed what they had always suspected, that Harry shared a very warm and personal connection with his grandmother. If you are enjoying this video and want to see more updates and insights, don't forget to like this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on the latest news and discussions. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think about this story. And from what I've seen and heard, that wasn't far from the truth. Off camera, away from the spotlight, she had a lovely sense of humor. She was kind, understanding, and very much devoted to her family. I had the privilege of seeing that side of her, and it's something you don't forget. Whatever people may think or say, you can only speak honestly about what you've witnessed. But when it comes to Harry, there's always been a sense that he needed something more, perhaps more attention, more reassurance, or even a feeling of being first in line emotionally. That's something that has followed him over the years, and it helps explain some of the decisions he's made. Now, one moment that really caught people off guard was that visit he made to see the Queen while he was on his way to the Netherlands for the Invictus Games. It seemed like a simple stop at first, but then that story came out, the one suggesting he wanted to check who was around her and whether she was being properly looked after. According to very reliable sources, this deeply upset the Queen. And when you think about it, it's not hard to understand why. During the difficult period of the pandemic, she wasn't alone or neglected. Quite the opposite, in fact. She was surrounded by people who were incredibly loyal and caring. For example, Catherine, Princess of Wales, stayed in regular contact, making sure the Queen felt supported even if she couldn't always be there in person. Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, also made consistent efforts to stay connected. And then there was Angela Kelly, who went above and beyond by staying close and helping with daily routines, sharing quiet moments, watching films together, and simply being there. So when Harry's comments surfaced, it came across as unfair to those who had been so devoted. It didn't reflect the full picture, and naturally, it caused some hurt. But at the same time, it seemed like Harry was trying to present himself in a certain way, as someone who was deeply concerned and closely involved. Now, fast forward to the present, and once again, Harry finds himself frustrated over how he's being portrayed in the media. A recent headline has clearly struck a nerve, and his team is pushing back strongly. Their argument is that the coverage makes it look like Prince William was the only one who truly stepped up and cared, which they feel is not a fair representation. But here's where things get interesting. This situation isn't happening in isolation. It's part of a pattern that we've seen over time. Harry often reacts very strongly to how he's perceived, especially when comparisons are made between him and his brother. And if we look back, even during his younger years, there were signs of this. I've spoken to people who were part of his security team, and they've shared that, as a child, he often sought out his mother's attention. He wanted that reassurance, that connection. Of course, Princess Diana had 2 sons, and like any parent, she would have tried her best to treat them equally. But as many of you will understand, it's not always easy when one child needs more attention than the other. It creates a dynamic that can carry forward into adulthood. Now, people often say, well, Harry went through something incredibly painful. He lost his mother at a young age. And that's absolutely true. It was a heartbreaking loss. But when you look at Prince William, you see someone who has processed that loss in a very different way. He appears more settled, more focused, and more accepting of what happened. Harry, on the other hand, still seems to be searching for answers, still revisiting the past. There's always talk of new interviews, documentaries, or projects that touch on these experiences. And while it's understandable to want to tell your story, there comes a point where people begin to wonder, when is it time to move forward? After all, he has built a new life for himself. He's living where he chose to live, with Meghan Markle, the woman he chose to marry. They have children, a family of their own. For many, that would be a reason to focus on the future rather than the past. But then situations like this arise, and it pulls everything back into the spotlight again. Recently, there have also been reports about his connection with a journalist from the Daily Mail. That development, from what I understand, hasn't gone down well in Montecito. It's added another layer to an already complicated situation. And then there's the issue raised in a new book, which is quite revealing. According to well-placed sources, the Queen felt it was necessary to have someone else present during conversations with Harry. Whether it was a phone call on speaker or an in-person visit, there was always another person nearby. Think about that for a moment. It's quite a sad thought, really, at her age, feeling the need for that kind of precaution, especially with someone so close to her. It suggests a level of concern that's hard to ignore. Harry, of course, disagrees with this version of events. He has said that during one of his final visits, they were alone and had a meaningful conversation. He even spoke about this in an interview with Hoda Kotb, saying that they shared a connection that others wouldn't fully understand. But the reason this matters so much now is because of how it affects his public image. The idea that he had a special bond with the Queen is important to him, especially when people are forming opinions about his role within the royal family. We've also seen him make statements about not meeting King Charles III during certain visits. These kinds of comments tend to keep the story alive, rather than allowing it to settle. Interestingly, Meghan Markle seems to handle things differently. She tends to stay quiet and let the situation pass. From her perspective, she has already distanced herself from her own family, so she may see no reason to engage in these ongoing issues. Harry's approach, however, often has the opposite effect. By speaking out, he keeps the focus on the tension and, in many ways, reveals just how unsettled things still are. And for many people watching, it raises a simple question. If you're truly happy, do you keep going back to the same problems? Adding to this, a recent report from Variety highlighted concerns from within Netflix. It was suggested that a senior figure preferred not to have conversations with Meghan without legal representation present. When things reach that stage, it usually points to deeper issues. From what I've heard through various contacts, there has been a noticeable shift in how people view the couple. In the beginning, there was a lot of enthusiasm and support. Ted Sarandos was fully behind their projects, investing both time and resources. But now, the tone seems to have changed. There's a sense of stepping back, of reassessing what went wrong. And unfortunately, the reputation that's forming isn't a positive one. Some describe working with them as challenging, even difficult. When you step back and look at everything, it paints a complicated picture. A once close relationship with the Queen, now surrounded by questions. Ongoing tensions within the family. And professional relationships that appear to be under strain. And perhaps the most striking part of all is this, the idea that the Queen may have felt uneasy being alone with her own grandson. That's not just a detail. It's something that really makes you pause and think. As for Harry, it seems he's once again turning to legal advice, working with lawyers in central London. And in many ways, that tells its own story. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more updates and insights, don't forget to like this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel Windsor Insiders so you never miss out on the latest news and discussions. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think about this story.